The creature which James Capen Adams called the monarch of American beasts, the grizzly bear. Since 1968, Doug Peacock has spent much of his life photographing, filming, and studying the grizzly in an effort to ensure the animal's continued wild survival.
I don't know if you want to call it fear or reverence or what, but that spooky feeling, which is a mixture of respect, awe, fear, it's a healthy thing. And that's something that I'm after. I want that experience.
In 1800, there were over 200,000 grizzlies in North America. Now, outside of Alaska, Doug believes there are probably fewer than 500 left. All but a handful of those live here in Yellowstone, Glacier National Park, and adjacent forests, the places where Doug records and studies this wildest and most majestic of American animals. Today, Doug takes bodybuilding champion and movie actor Arnold Schwarzenegger on a camping trip into the park to look for grizzlies.
Well, authorities, Andy Russell, who probably knows as much wild grizzlies as anybody else, believes the grizzly bears can tell what you mean when you go into grizzly bear country. If you go armed with a camera, that's one thing.
The Park Service does not allow guns to be carried into Yellowstone, not even into the high timber and mountain meadows that are the grizzly's natural habitat. The manless places where he is still as dominant as he was 10,000 years ago.
This was probably a grizzly kill, although you can never be sure.
How do you tell?
Well, see how the neck is twisted back here? And one horn is broken off, and it's probably killed in March. That's too early for the horns to fall off by themselves. Grizzlies often run down elk, jump up on their back, and just shake the neck and break it.
They just attack the animal?
Usually what happens is they'll start loping behind the herd and single out a single animal and then put on a burst of speed. And a grizzly bear can, a bloody grizzly bear can outrun a quarter horse in a short distance.
Oh, come on, another quarter horse.
Oh, yeah, they could probably outpump you, Arnold. And,
outpump me, yeah.
Yeah.
It smells. Let's get out of here.
That's perfumed grizzly bear. This part of the valley is probably the best place left in all Yellowstone for grizzly bears. And every time you come up to rise, you should approach rise very slowly because you never know what's going to be just over the lip of the ridge. Once I almost walked up on about an 800-pound boar on a creek. He was 30 feet away, and all I saw was a hair sticking up. Okay, not too much noise now.
Is that river?
Yeah, it's Pelican Creek. Let's see what we got.
See anything?
Not yet. Yeah, I do. I see bear tracks.
What?
In the snow over there. See those tracks? Take a look. Those are grizzly bear tracks. No other animal leaves a pattern like that.
How about a human being?
You're right. Human beings are close, but that's no human being. Not out here. There's nothing out here but us and Grizz, apparently.
The little ones in there, too.
Let's go down there and have a look. Say, we probably walk up in that track very cautiously because I can't tell how fresh it is from a distance. I mean,
Right.
I get sort of spooky when I see relatively fresh tracks. Easy now.
Wow. Can you believe the size?
I think they're about...
Look at this if you compare it to my hand. That's awesome. It's huge.
It's a sow, and probably a yearling from the size, I'd say. Yeah, and probably it's only 2 hours old.
But it's enormous. I mean, look at those things, huh?
You bet. Do you realize that this one animal makes that much difference? If the grizzly bear weren't here, this place would be just like Santa Monica. But that's why I like grizzly bears, is that the presence of this one animal colors the entire complexion of a place. but it's getting a little spooky. I think I'd like to call it quits for today. It's getting too late, and that bear's headed for thick woods, and we don't want to follow him in there. Okay. For now, let's beat it.
Encouraged by the grizzly sign they've seen, Doug and Arnold call it a day and go set up camp for the night.
The Blackfeet's name for the grizzly bear was real bear. Everything else was something else. The grizzly, especially among the Plains Indians that lived near Yellowstone, was always a symbol more than anything else of courage, of power, an awesome being sent down on earth to humble men, to make men humble.
Tomorrow we're going to be faced maybe with a situation where all of a sudden behind my back is a bear. And he's going to be 10 times bigger than I am, and I'm going to maybe freak out, right? Okay, that is not enough distance anymore to run, right? So what's then?
You've got to stand your ground. If you end up in close proximity to a grizzly bear with nothing to climb, is you have to stand your ground. And the way I do it, I'm not really sure how I do it because it kind of happens so fast, it's almost intuitive. But I stand my ground like I'm possibly another grizzly bear, and a fairly dominant one. Because bears do this to each other all the time.
Right.
And during the spring, they're looking for prey, and if you run, you're just going to trigger that predator instinct, and your meat.
Let me ask you a question that comes up to my mind right now. You said to me on the phone, we are not going to take guns or anything like that, right?
Right.
Can you explain a little bit here?
Okay, yeah, sure.
I mean, the first thing everybody says to me,
everybody
obviously,
says, make
don't
sure
go
you got
with
a big
gun. Yeah,
piece.
exactly. So, I mean, what is your answer to that? I'm sure you have one.
Okay, I love guns, right? I got nothing against guns. I have all kinds of them. But I never carry a gun in grizzly country. It would be very unethical, very hypocritical for me to carry a big piece into grizzly country when I'm supposed to be making a film that's going to help and benefit grizzly bears on their territory, and if everything doesn't go just right, blow them away with a .44 Magnum.
And you're not worried about it?
It's not that I'm not worried. I think it would be, it'd be poor taste. But I think there's another thing too that it's a little harder to explain, and that's there's something about grizzly bears that gun gets between you and there's some kind of a primal experience you get with a grizzly bear without a gun that you wouldn't experience if you had a rifle or a pistol. And that's, the grizzly bear out there is the most dominant, the most powerful critter. It's not you. And your relationship to the bear is really altered by having to take that into stock. If you've got a gun, it doesn't happen to you that way. It's not a very easy thing to explain, but I hope by the end of this week, you'll know what I mean.
What are you doing now?
Well, I'm trying to get some smoke on my clothes to cover up my foul human scent.
To get what in your clothes? Smoke?
Smoke. Nothing is more nauseating to a grizzly bear than a human being, apparently. And I think that smoking my clothes helps me with grizzly bears. And the grizzly bear has the best nose in the animal kingdom, and he can pick up a human being from a mile away. And so usually every night I stand in front of a fire and I smoke my clothes.
Well, I tell you one thing, whatever
You gotta
helps,
try
helps.
it too. Yeah.
I do it immediately.
Well, I think the idea...
Like this? Just standing like this there?
As much as you can stand, yeah, you bet. But the idea out there is probably to be as invisible as possible. I think it's a proper way to behave in the wilderness.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I hope the whole week is going to be as strange as the first night.
Early the next morning, the two men find new grizzly signs near the camp.
This is a grizzly dig, Arnold. It was done sometime in the past week. The grizzlies have got huge claws, and when you find any sign like this, you know it's a grizzly bear. Black bears really don't dig.
What do you mean, they're digging a hole, a grizzly bear?
He's going after some kind of rodent.
Right.
And this looks like a grizzly scat. And you can tell by the scat if you look close. See all that fur? See those little tiny jaws? Okay, well those are voles or pocket mice, and that's what they're doing. The grizzlies are digging along the burrow looking for the nest, and then they're just living on mice this time of year. Now let's move on. We can find fresher diggings.
They proceed carefully, following Doug Peacock's amazing sense of where the man-shy grizzlies are and what they're doing at different times during the day.
And there's bears on it.
Where?
That far hillside, just before the trees, straight over, I see two bears. They're big, dark bears.
Oh, come on.
Look, I think they're probably grizzly bears. They're very dark.
Oh, I see it. I see it. I can't believe I actually see them. How do we get closer?
Okay. We're going to go into those trees and skirt this hillside very quietly. And if we have to, we'll move back into the trees. We'll test the wind.
Can you believe it? This is incredible.
The wind is coming right at us. It's perfect.
I can see it with my own eyes now.
They look like adult grizzlies. I've never seen adult grizzlies together in Yellowstone. Let's go for it.
This is exciting.
Doug and Arnold approached the grizzlies from downwind and cautiously. A full-grown grizzly can weigh over 1,000 pounds. He can run over any terrain at 35 miles an hour and can break an elk's back with one paw swipe. His hearing and smell are among the best in the animal kingdom, but his eyesight is weak. And Arnold and Doug take advantage of that as they close in on the sow and her yearling.
Peacock, I think they saw us. Peacock, this bear is already dug in around 6 feet. They heard your camera. They're looking. Peacock, they're looking.
The mother grizzly hears the camera, but with the trees breaking the shape of the men and with no scent to identify them, she is so far only nervous. Once a grizzly identifies a man, the bear can be very unpredictable.
They're taking off now.
Finally, this one makes Doug and Arnold out, and fortunately for them, decides to run. She and her yearling stop once to look back at this mysterious apparition, the feared and sudden presence of man.
Believe it. This is unbelievable, Doug.
Man, I'm
I
glad
can't
you got to
believe
see
it.
it. We didn't scare him too bad either.
This is too much.
She won't go far.
I hope
She just heard the noise of this camera and didn't know what it was. They rear when they don't know.
Yeah. Well,
She'll be all right.
I couldn't believe it.
No, sir.
That is fantastic.
I'm glad you got to see it.
I can't believe it.
For 10,000 years, the grizzly was, with the Indian, co-dominant lord of this continent. Now pushed into 2% of his original range, his numbers reduced by 400 times, and is still being reduced by poachers and man's encroachment. It is trouble Doug Peacock is doing something about.
I knew a long time ago that to fight to preserve the element of risk in wilderness, that element of risk here is synonymous with the grizzly bear. In that respect, the grizzly bear is true wilderness. All America was once this wild, untamed land, and we all sprang from that. And all we've got left of that original habitat is a couple small enclaves, which, not coincidentally, happen to have grizzly bears. I think that our destinies, us and the grizzly bears, may be more mingled than we ever imagined. If we can save these bears, we can save ourselves.